if we go to the real extreme of adjusting it so that the fixed length data is either 0 or just a few bytes to maybe constrain some of the most important primary key or something, then I'm actually just shipping those 26 bytes of control data and plus maybe 4 or 8 bytes fixed length data. And that's all that's then being shipped. And conceivable is a sort of a mini cluster of 3 to 5 machines, which would actually scale on writing, because everybody has to apply the updates of everybody else. That's really the killer for write scaling on these systems. But all they're doing is applying the control data to their copy of the database. The real data of the database has already been written and only been written once. So this is the roadmap for PBXT. We're getting serious now because I'm actually making a roadmap. I'm promising now that I think this is realistic. I have an alpha version. The previous version of PBXT was beta, but I downgraded to alpha when I added the ACID compliance. And this version already has referential integrity. For the beta version next quarter, I only have one thing still to do, and that is index consistent write. That is when I flush the index, that's got to be a consistent flush. I've got to do a Windows compile for that version, and then it's feature complete for beta. I would like to have a alpha version of the synchronous replication working by Q3. And the release candidate is planned for Q4 this year. GA in the first quarter of next year, I think, is completely realistic, because what I'm only doing bug fixing and performance tuning in the second half of the year. Besides, of course, the synchronous HA replication, and I think it'll be beta by Q1 as well. So we've got 5 minutes, I think, for questions.
Do you have any performance number to share other than what we did last time?
Performance numbers. I've done some of my own performance testing to see where I've got to work for this stuff, but this is an alpha version, the first implementation, and the figures are not worth showing. I know where the problems are. I have 20 minutes left. I have an hour session?
Yeah.
Okay. How did I miss that?
Do you have any thoughts on
maybe we can let the microphone go around then. Oh, okay.
We'll just screen.
Okay, I'll repeat the questions.
Question on the write speed for SSD. Does it matter which file systems were you using?
Okay, the question is, does it matter on the SSD what file systems I was using? Probably it does with the SSD testing. But Kevin knows more about that. Have you tested various file systems on SSD? X3.
XT3.
Yeah. I was using X3. Okay. And Kevin, you've done extensive testing, so you reckon that's the fastest.
Yeah. Do you have any theoretical performance? The thing is, we're seeing with MyISAM the full disk utilization with SSD. Do you have any thoughts on what you would see with PBXT with SSD disk utilization? 100%, 100%?
So the question is, what would the disk utilization be on SSD with PBXT? my problem is the performance tests that I've done with SSD are being disturbed by the fact that I haven't fully implemented the write consolidation. If we go back to, we've got so much time so we can go back to it. Let me just go through these most important websites. PrimeBase.org, you'll find the documentation and downloads and tarballs and so on. Everything's there. On the SourceForge, as I say, is with SVN access to the most recent versions. And this is my blog where I do announce the most important events are guaranteed to be announced on that blog. So that's, I don't blog very much, so actually you can, if you've got a feed reader, you can hook it up, blog about once a month. It's not going to drown you in stuff to go through. So where were we, Kevin? Which?
I think you're going to talk about the write consolidation.
Oh, you're right. Okay, that was the writer. So the write consolidation occurs over here. I have the writer thread is reading from the transaction log, and it's got two jobs to do here. The one is to sort the data that it's going to read. So it needs its own little cache. It's got to sort the data that's been read here, and while it's sorting it, it can accumulate writes that are being done on the same page or on the same spot. And that's an often occurrence when, for example, I'm doing a lot of updates and deletes, and what PBXT is doing it's releasing and freeing records, and then it's allocating them. But it's releasing and freeing and allocating. It keeps on recycling through the same records, basically, and that means that I'm writing over the same data, and I can turn what's coming out of the transaction log, what was 10 writes, into maybe 1 write on the disk. And by sorting them, I put the one record after the other, and then what turns into 5 1K writes will be suddenly one 5K write, and that kind of thing. And now I'm not doing that yet, and that's disturbing the performance currently of PBXT on the solid state drive quite significantly.
Because you're writing the same block over and over again?
Because I'm doing random writes on the handle data file.
Okay.
And lots of little random writes on the handle data file.
It might be twofold, because on Flash, there's this thing underneath the I/O layer called the Flash translation layer. And if you keep writing the same blocks over and over again, the Flash drive will relocate that block and make random writes even worse.
Okay, so Kevin says that can be made even more extreme by the way the flash memory moves. That's probably to prevent wear on the disk. Prevent wear on the disk there. If you're writing in the same spot over and over again, the internal logic of the system moves your block to a different spot on the disk in order to prevent wear on the same spot. Which would obviously decrease the life of the hard drive. So that's an important optimization which I'll be doing, but I'll be doing that probably once I have a beta candidate, not before.